All right, welcome back to Beneath the Helmet, everyone. Season 3. Another great episode for you in store today. We got an awesome hour for you to sit back and relax. We have a very powerful conversation with an excellent person. He's the chair of the First Responder Center of Excellence. He's the founder of FireRescue Fitness, and he's also the host of the Better Every Shift podcast. And he's also part of the Crackle team, where he shares all his valuable nuggets and wisdom from his experience working with NFL, NBA teams, professional sports, and how that can be incorporated into the fire service or other public safety agencies. So a wealth of knowledge, wealth of experience, a very down-to-earth person. And he's also the person who introduced me to the 5 for 50. So today I got a chance to sit down with Aaron Zamzow, also known as Zam. So Zam, he's the creator also of the 5 for 50, like I mentioned. And part of that is I want to experience this 5 for 50. So starting on January 1st of this year, 2025, I started my own 5 for 50. And I want to publicly kind of share my 5 healthy habits that I've been working on. Today is January 24th, 2025. So 24 days into this. And so far, successful in all areas. So the very first one is less than 15 grams of added sugar in my diet. Very challenging. Not an easy one, but such an important one for my wellness. Second one I chose was to meditate for at least 10 minutes a day. And this has been a bit of a challenge for me. This is probably the hardest one. Just for me to get in that habit of meditating, sitting still with myself. There's a lot of misconceptions around meditation where you have to be totally zen and no thoughts coming in and out of your mind, but that's not true. Just sitting by yourself, even for 10 minutes a day, has changed my outlook and how I feel on a daily basis. The third one is to record and post a video every day. And the purpose behind this was for me to get more and more comfortable behind the camera, more and more comfortable sharing my stories, more and more comfortable putting my message out there. So that was my third one. My fourth one was no alcohol for 50 days. And for me, that's a fairly easy one. But as we know, alcohol is a very social drink. So it's hasn't been a challenge per se, but it's definitely been something that I want to, cut out of my diet, cut out of my life for the next 50 days and see how I feel. And the last one is something that's very near and dear to me is reading at least 20 minutes a day. Very avid reader, but sometimes life gets in the way, business gets in the way, and unfortunately, TikTok and Facebook gets in the way. So my goal is to read 20 minutes a day. And that's been very successful. And most of the time it ends up being more than 20 minutes. So there's my 5 for 50. So I started January 1st. So in 50 days, I will kind of give you a little report back. So let's, without further ado, let's sit down with Zam and see what he has to share with the world. So until next time, stay well.
It's time to ignite your soul and unlock your full potential. Join us on Beneath the Helmet, the podcast exploring firefighters' health and wellness. Hosted by retired Fire Chief Arjuna George, our podcast is the perfect place to start your journey towards becoming the best version of yourself. So come on, let's join the conversation and find out what sets your soul on fire.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Another great episode, Beneath the Helmet. Brand new season 3. Today I got officer from the fire service, Aaron Zamzow. How are you doing today, Aaron?
Good, brother. Third season already. Congrats. That's a lot of people don't understand how much work it is behind the scenes, from editing to producing, then to getting morons like me to actually commit and get on and then remember when I'm supposed to be on. And then, get everything to work. So congrats on third season. Really happy to be here, man. Thanks for the invite.
Likewise.
Most of our good material is already behind us that we didn't record. So for those listening, stay tuned. It's going to get better. We promise.
We'll regurgitate it somehow.
Yeah, somehow we'll get it out here. Yeah. But, really good banter behind the scenes. Just like I said, thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, likewise. And congrats on your podcast as well. 100 episodes. That's a huge accomplishment as well. So podcasting is not a piece of cake. So it is a challenge, but it's so well worth it to get the information, get people's stories out there. An amazing way to share knowledge through the fire service. So congrats on your success as well.
I can't take a lot of the credit. I have a producer for the Better Every Shift podcast, Janelle Pasquette, who is I call her the commander on the show, because she really is behind the scenes, getting, organizing everything. And I'm just really fortunate I get to show up and try not to make too big of a moron out of myself. But you're right. Like everybody, there's so many really good stories in the fire service. There's a lot of stories actually all around us. And unfortunately, in this day and age, it's the loud ones or sometimes the negative ones that get the attention and the shares. And podcasts like what you do here, and what I try to do with Better Every Shift is to highlight, the stories of people that are around us and how they can maybe motivate us and improve. Take a little bit of a nugget from each person to work on ourselves. And so that's why I love it. You reached out, or we connected somehow, and I'm like, oh God, yeah, I'd love to be on this. And but 100 episodes is pretty cool. It has some blooper reels in there where I mess up all the time. Gordon Graham told me that I was blankety blank worthless. He was kidding, but yeah, great. It's I like I said, I can't take a lot of the accomplishment. I've learned so much from the people that I've been able to interview. And I think like you and I were talking, you use this for your own energy and insights, and then apply them to your own life. But as you as you talk to the guest, you're trying to get tidbits and nuggets for the audience, but we also are selfishly doing stuff for ourselves, right?
Yeah. I did not realize until maybe only a few months ago that podcasting is keeping me accountable. It's like my accountability partner almost. It's keeping me accountable to keeping my body well, my mind well, being present, listening, all these different skills that you just need to be reminded on a daily basis, right? So it's pretty cool that podcasting can keep me accountable on my own journey through wellness and high performance, right? So
yeah, I think the biggest thing you said there was listening is a skill. So for those that are listening to this, if someone's just kind of, if this is on in the background, just, please pay attention for the next 30 seconds. I will agree 100% with you that over the 100 episodes, I haven't improved as a podcaster at all, but I think I've improved as a listener and being more active and present. And I think if anybody was to take anything from this, if they were to work on anything in their life, that right there is try to connect with people and listen. Don't get an opinion. Listen to what someone's saying for, just a couple minutes every single day. And that will really transfer into, a lot more. And that's a great point, and I didn't realize that was what I was going to take from the program, but it's something that has transferred now as I'm an officer, trying to manage a crew and connect and do that as to the best of my knowledge. That's the first thing that I think I'm trying to really focus on. So yeah, I mean, wonderful point. Like if somebody just shuts this podcast down now and does that, we've made an impact.
100%. And it makes me think of my favorite TV character, Ted Lasso. Be curious, not judgmental, right? So
yeah, yes,
be curious.
And it's crazy how, we were talking off screen or behind the scenes too, about how many stories there are. And, and I think you and I have this very optimistic, I call it annoyingly optimistic mindset. Cause sometimes people are like, not today, dude, I can't handle you. But when you really start to listen to people and ask a couple more questions, there are some unbelievable stories. There's some unbelievable, stories of endearment, of encouragement, of just hardships that people have overcome that you would never realize if you just pass them, or, you work with them and you may never know some of those things. But ask questions, right? Like be curious. That'd be number 2, listen attentively. And if that leads to some curiosity. Ask the questions, man. And that's really about being human. Because we also said it's very right now in Canada, you're in Canada, I'm in Wisconsin, and in the US right now, politically, we're very entertaining. And, and it's, some people are really on one side and some people are really on the other. And I'm like, well, I'm human. I prefer to be human. So we can talk about anything, and I'm just going to treat you as a human and listen. And hopefully you do the same. And I think the more that people do that, the better off everybody's going to be, especially, being in the fire service, because of all the different other stresses we have on top of just, day-to-day life. Right.
Yep. 100%. Love it. All right, everyone. That was the episode. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah. Mic drop. Boom. Yeah, exactly. It was perfect. Yeah.
So Zam, tell us a little bit about you and your life and kind of what brought you to podcasting and being a leader in the fire service and everything else you're doing with your business and everything. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Boy, leader in the fire service. It's a cool ring to it. I don't know if I believe it so much, but
well, your name has come up multiple times. I gotta connect with Zam. Gotta connect with Zam. So
I appreciate it. I'm trying to stay relevant. I started, the short version was before I even got in the fire service, I used to work with pro athletes. I was a fitness trainer. 30 years ago, I was working in health clubs. One of the biggest health clubs in the Midwest. It was up in Minnesota, Minneapolis. And from there, I met some athletes and started training with NBA, NFL, NHL athletes. And then I had CEOs, and that was my main business for years. And one day I was driving home, and there was a sign out that said, contribute to your community, join the fire department, volunteer, on-call paid. Actually, it was in Golden Valley, Minnesota. I walked in. The first person I met was Captain Tim Gertz, who is also a Wisconsin guy. He lived in Minnesota though, but we bonded on the Packers and football. And then I from there I was sold just about trying to be in this, camaraderie environment and, team environment, which I was used to, with sports that I did growing up. So, but I learned really quickly that my very first academy, me being a trainer and supposed to be the fitness guy, I was getting my butt kicked when I went to do Fire 1 and Fire 2 or fire operations, meaning I wasn't able to keep up with a lot of the people that were laborers. They were, carpenters, they were drywallers, they were plumbers. They were people that were, climbing ladders every day. They were carrying heavy stuff. They were working with their hands. They were doing, a lot of things where, I wasn't doing. I was working in a health club setting. So I was leg press, tricep push down, bench press, and it didn't transfer. It helped me a little bit, but it didn't, really functionally relay and compute to all the different things we were doing. And one of the times I remember we did some drill where we were climbing up, we were on air, we had to climb through ladder, then we had to advance hose line up the ladder, and, and we get done with the drill, and a couple guys go in the back and smoke cigarettes. And I'm like, these guys just beat me all over the place. I'm the fitness guy. I got to figure this out. And so from there, I started dedicating my own fitness functionally. Like I kind of broke down, hey, here's what I have to do on the fire ground. If it was my pro athlete, if it was my NHL, my hockey guy, at that time, Wingate testing for the NHL was really big, but we started to work upper body on a lot of our NHL athletes, which wasn't, this is 25 years ago, right? Like that wasn't necessarily the case. So we were trying to look at things more functionally. And so I just transferred all that to firefighting, created a company called FireRescue Fitness. And I just made workout programs for myself. And when I got hired full time at age 36, I was able to keep up with the youngsters. And then from there, I got just got in contact with people wanting the program. So I started selling them at I think I only sell them for $30 even today, but I got about 8 different programs. And then that's led to writing for Firehouse Magazine, Firefighter International, Fire Rescue One, a bunch of local things. And then that opened the door for the podcast, which started 2 years ago on Fire Rescue One, called Better Every Shift. I also work for the First Responder Center for Excellence under Chief Frank Lieb. So I've been able to work with him the last year, and he's kind of just really teaching me a lot and grooming me. And so I'm just really happy to be relevant. I just got an opportunity to work with the IFF on the Wellness Fitness Initiative, and been able to speak at a lot of different places. So I'm just super grateful that people still want to, I guess, hear what I got to say. I'm still around. I'm over 50 now, so my fitness has changed a lot, right? Like, I think you can relate to that.
Yes,
and so, if these youngsters out there thinking that the bench press is going to help them throughout their career, they need to learn a little bit more, and hopefully I can try to enlighten them on that. And so and that's kind of what's gotten me here. I've kind of transferred more to the resilience side of things. I've apologized to a lot of people. When I first started speaking, I just said, hey, you got to get outside, you got to move. And there's more to the whole package than just moving. And, we mentioned that off screen about, when you were experiencing your burnout, you knew there were things you needed to do, but you're just so done emotionally, physically, that was difficult. And so as I kept going through and speaking and meeting people and coaching, I realized that there's a lot more to this picture. And, for those listening, I think, if you're always been like the contemplator, hey, I need to start working out tomorrow, or I'm going to get back on the wagon. Look at the factors that you haven't really considered. Look at the sleep, look at the mental trauma, look at, nutrition, look at the way that you set your day up. There's more to this picture than just going out and working out. And I think with firefighters, we go up, when we go work out, we're high intensity, which if you're already experiencing burnout, that's like the worst thing for you, which is why, hey, you get injured and you wind up 3 weeks later, like not working out anymore, because it's burning you out even further. So, those are things that through the years I've learned through research, through, going back and get my master's, working on different certifications, and then I experience them, so, yeah, I mean, a long drawn out way of why I'm here and how I got here, but it's been just a fun time, an unbelievable journey. And I just feel like I'm still learning. I'm just at the starting point, and the other side of things that I've been able to experience is just learning from great leaders like yourself. Like I've already taken a couple nuggets from this, being able to interview people on the podcasts. I try to take stuff and just some of the meetings I've been able to be in, and don't wake me up if it's a dream or a nightmare. Don't wake me up, folks, because I'm having a blast with it. So and again, I just add this is another great experience for me to be able to talk to you and hopefully connect with some people.
So what was it, the spark that changed from physical PT kind of training to, hey, we got to be a little bit more holistic here? Was there like something happened in your life, or some attitude change, mindset change? Anything you can think of there?
Age.
Yes. Okay.
Age and COVID. I think COVID for some provided a lot of stress. For others, that are mainly a little more high performing, I'm high energy. People that are around me are irritated often by that. Right. Like, I think you can relate to that. But for COVID, it kind of gave me a chance to reset, as we were forced to. And, at first I did what everybody else did. I ate, I gained weight. And then I think it was the realization, over the new year, that this isn't going to go away. And we may be experiencing this for another year or 2 years. I need to start making some healthy habits and trying to help people along the way. Cause, a lot of my programs use some equipment, and a lot of people were reaching out saying, hey, the program that I'm following, I don't have any alternatives. And, so I got back to work, and I realized, oh man, I'm not eating very well. So I don't have the energy. And I think that, along with turning, going into my later 40s, now I'm over 50, you learn the value of sleep, because you just can't recover like you used to. A 24-hour shift sometimes really hits me. And so I started to to think a little bit more about, all right, my body, my mentally and physically, I just can't go from getting 3 hours of sleep to go hit the gym really hard. I need a day, a buffer in between. So I figured out, man, there's these things called stretches and yoga and body weight exercises that you don't have to be as intense. And then, hey, if I sleep a little bit better, my workouts get a little bit better, and I'm not so much of a butthead to deal with. As you know, my mom used to call me out on that a lot. She's like, you need to go eat something because you're kind of a jerk. And right, you're hangry, but we're also like tired and drained, and that brings out a lot of different effects. And I think with men, especially in the fire service, it affects our metabolism, it affects our testosterone. There is a litany of things. And so I guess over the last like 10 years, those things have been thrown in my face as well. And looking at, all right, I'm either going to have to deal with this or I'm going to gain 30 pounds and I'm going to be that person that I don't necessarily want to be and go into. And so, to answer your question, I think it's the timing of COVID and then, me aging and then, wanting to step up and be an officer at the same time. It was just one of those things. It's either I'm going to go this way or not. And, I did some things. I started some positive habits that really lasted. And I think too, that's where a light bulb went off. And we could talk a little bit about that too, as we get into it, kind of like, I think there is a secret formula. I really do. I think
want to dig into that.
Yeah. I've been seeing people have some great results just from doing some small things every single day consistently. Right. So
habit building is something that I work with a lot of my clients on. It's one of the hardest things for people to get a grasp of how to build a healthy habit and continue and make that a routine for the rest of their lives. So definitely 100% interested in getting into that. But I want to dig into sleep first. Any thoughts on the listener right now of how they can maximize and utilize and just optimize their sleep, especially for spotters?
I love that word. I love optimize. That's, I think, not to get off task here, but I think we talk about resilience and we talk about, balance. I just think optimization, because firefighters learn to basically function at 70% of where they should be physically, mentally, emotionally. I've seen it. Once you get past like year 5 and 6, that tank is just drained to a point where we convince ourselves that we're full, and we're really not. And the people around us help build us up and give us that, but that also drains them. And instead of filling our tanks from within, we're draining everyone else's around us. And I've seen that. And so, to go back to sleep helps fill that tank. I think the biggest thing I could tell, your listeners is that, first of all, sleeping is a skill. You think that you're a master of it early on. Usually you are a little bit better when you're younger, but as you get older, you also have to realize that setting yourself up for sleep is really, really important. Everything from, taking caffeine, limit your caffeine after 4:00. You may not think it affects you, but it does, especially around 10 or 10 to 11 when you're trying to sleep. Powering down all the different lights and stimuli that are around us really affect us in it. And it, our body is in this flight or fight. And usually it's in, we're always in fight mode. And so trying to decrease the stimuli really helps as well. Those things alone, powering down 30 minutes before sleep and cutting caffeine are 2 ways that I think people can right away tonight improve their sleep quality. It's super important to also know, like, there is like a little bit of a sleep bank, and I'm still trying to figure some of that out. Some of the research, kind of contradicts itself. It's, I was just, I would say I was on tour with First Responder Center for Excellence. We did these 2-day workshops, and we had some of the best sleep experts that presented, and some of the stuff was just mind blowing. But they said, look, the research is so new on sleep, and it's got a lot of, there's a lot of it going on that things may change. Like 4 months from now, we may change some things about how we view it. But the basis behind it is sleep is a skill. You need to work on it. You need to set up your dojo, and bring your body and your mind to a state where, you're ready to sleep. So we talk about powering down 30 minutes before, limiting caffeine after 4 p.m. The other thing is trying to get to bed at the same time every single night and waking up at the same time. Right now, my focus is just like, I like to be up late. And so I need to power down at 10. And if I can be in bed, almost asleep by 10:30, that really helps. I don't care about waking up yet. Like that'll be another part of it. But, so those are all really important things. And if you don't think it affects you, read a little bit of research. It's scary. There's a research out there that says somebody who's sleep deprived versus somebody who's had like 5 or 6 drinks, alcoholic drinks, and the reaction time is very similar. Sleep effects.
Naps.
What's that?
The micro naps.
Yeah, and micro naps can help. Wow. Yeah. Yep. I like coffee naps. Have you read about those at all?
Yeah. Have a cup of coffee and then have a 20-minute nap. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have coffee, have a cup of your coffee. And I think this is really great for firefighters is, so if you have a coffee at say 1 o'clock, you go lay down right after that for about 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes. By the 25-minute mark, caffeine actually starts to hit your body. So it'll wake you up. But within that 20 minutes, there's a lot of things going on neurologically with receptors opening and closing and allowing caffeine to do its work. But it actually can put you in a state where you're more, where you can actually get more efficient sleep and rest in that 20 little minutes. So coffee naps really, really help. Yeah. To improve, the sleep deprivation. But I think, the biggest point on sleep is we used to think I don't need to sleep. I'll sleep when I die. It's not really affecting me. First things first, it's affecting you mentally because the glymphatic system clears at hours 6 through 8 usually on sleep. And that's where you get a lot of your mental trauma cleaned out through that glymphatic system. A lot of human growth hormone is released into those later stages of sleep. If you're not doing that, that's going to affect men in a lot of different ways. And so the stages of sleep are all important. And, I know the first thing everybody says is I can't control when I get calls. Nope. But you can control naps. You can control still trying to go to bed at the same time. You can control powering down. You can control limiting your caffeine. And then, even when you look at fitness helps you sleep. Sleep helps you power your workouts. Nutrition, high sugar, high fat foods make it difficult, more difficult to fall asleep. So there's all these different things that play into it. But first things first, remember sleeping is a skill and there are some things we can do regardless if we're on shift or not.
Yeah. Sleeping is a skill. I don't think I've heard that before. So that is perfect because that's truly what it is. It's something you have to work on. It's not something that just comes naturally to us when we get older, when we have busy lives, complex lives. It's a skill. I love it.
It's a skill. Yeah. I always like 2 people like, well, yeah, I'm really good at it. A couple of beers and I fall asleep. Yeah. Aha, you fall asleep, but you don't hit those deep REM cycles. And what did I just say? A lot of those deep REM cycles is where your glymphatic system works, where you get your growth hormone, your testosterone. And so it's really interesting to see how alcohol can affect your sleep. Now I'm from Wisconsin. So people will be like, dude, don't be a hypocrite. We know you have cocktails. I do. But even on those days, I don't make it a big habit. And I try to make sure I drink a lot of water. I might take a nap that next day. I make sure that sometimes I'll even fast just to help my body kind of recover a little bit. So I'm not telling people to not live life, but just understand the effects. And so I have a Whoop and I started whooping. Sounds really weird. Yeah. Aura, right? Yep. Perfect. Yep. And just to, I'm just looking at, okay, does it really affect me? And it's crazy. The Whoop app will say, how many cocktails did you have? And I don't, maybe it looks at GPS or whatever, if it sees them in a bar or a restaurant, but it can tell just by your HRV, your heart rate variability, breathing rate, temperature. It's nuts. And so if it can, if a little sensor can see it, right, your significant other, your kids, everybody else can also sense it too. So that's another thing you need to remember. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I always thought I slept well until I got my Aura ring and actually tracked my sleep. I thought, hey, I wake up in the morning, I feel fine, I feel good. But then I started tracking. I'm like, oh man, that wasn't a good night's sleep. I was up like 20 times during the night, or
Yeah.
my heart rate was high, or whatever that looks like, right? It's like, wow. Until you start tracking it, you really don't know. So tracking is
Yeah. And
super valuable. Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing for you, but like when we talk about just, hey, we're just trying to optimize, we're just trying to see how we can get a little bit better. Sometimes you can draw some correlations, right? Like, I had, some bonbons late at night, or I had ice cream late at night. Well, look at my sleep was affected by that. It's just data, it's information, and it's a tool, just like an axe or a Halligan. You got to learn how to use it and when, right?
Yeah. My HRV when I was going through my burnout was single digits.
Oof. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
When I
now I
work, yeah.
quadrupled it.
And you could see that change, right? Like when I work our shift, we have a really bad schedule for sleep. It's, so I work Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week. By Saturday, my HRV will be down. And so my goal is to see if there's things I can do to keep that up and regular. And obviously it depends on call volumes and some, but it's just one of the kind of things I'm doing to research myself. So far, I haven't found anything, but I'm not giving up.
Yep, love it. Love it. So before we dive into some habit building around the Resilient 50, because I definitely want to hit on that, because I've heard it numerous times from other people what a good concept it is.
Ooh.
I want to dig into the NBA, NHL, NFL, how that relates to the fire service. Do you see any correlations on your work you did there in the fire service, and what do you bring to the fire service from your skills in that background, besides just the fitness elements? I'm thinking the teams, I'm thinking the culture, that kind of stuff.
It's crazy. It's great timing on this too. So a friend of mine still, who was a player, he played 10 years in the NFL, and I got to I wouldn't say I coached or trained him. I got to work out with him a couple of times, and just, I would always see like what his training was, and, see if I could add some stuff to it. And, and there were some other NFL and NHL people along the way, but now he's coaching, and he's been coaching. Oh man, he's almost like 8 to 10 years. And I just saw him last week after a game. I was able to watch him and play in Baltimore. And I had a group of chiefs that were with me, and we just started talking a little bit about, the culture of the coach there. And it's very similar, right? Like you are trying to motivate your players to achieve an objection. It's a little more measurable, I think, on the field, but a lot of it, there's a lot of congruencies there, like understanding what motivates your players, understanding what they're going through, understanding what they know, what they don't know, and how you can contribute to improving that weakest link that they have, right? And I think first and foremost, it just comes down to how do you connect with your crew. Same thing as how these coaches and how my buddy says he just tries to connect with his players. And that I think is the same regardless. As far as like the performance side of it, believe it or not, some of those players, they're making millions and millions of dollars, but they burn out as well. And you have to find ways to give them rest and recovery. I think the biggest thing I see with like the fire service is, we're 15 years behind how I'm training my athletes. So like we were using a lot more technology. We were using heart rate training, 20 years ago with my athletes. Now it's starting to seep into the fire service. So I think their technology is a little bit better. But they also focus on sleep. They also focus on relationships. They actually get some counseling on finances. All that's very similar to us, that we need to really start to focus on providing for our members. I remember when one of my guys was playing and he signed with Buffalo, And I remember I went to the Buffalo, went to watch them in Buffalo, and I was touring their facility, and I was like, oh, it's not that, extravagant, right? Like, it's not like University of Texas. Have you ever seen like their weight room, or even University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, or Madison? I'm sorry. Like, it is, you're like, holy cow, there's like running hills and all kinds of stuff in there. And then you go to this pro complex and it's like, meh, looks like some high schools. And it kind of just took me by surprise. And I said, well, what's the deal with that? They said, hey, we signed for the contract, and some of the other things, I don't sign for the workout, right? I don't sign for the massage chair here. They're like, we're signing for the contract. We're signing for the environment. And I know in Buffalo, he had young kids. And so they had like daycare set up, and they had family time set up. And, they understood as an organization that all plays into optimizing our members' performance. Right. And so for the fire service, I think that's one thing we're just learning on, connecting the dots. But I think we should look out to, pro sports. We should look out to some of the successful corporations and see how they're really connecting with their people and bringing in family. We don't do a great job of bringing family into it. And they're the biggest kind of asset. I guess I should say asset, but they're our biggest, either supporter or not supporter, right? They're our fans, and we need to make them raving fans so they can support, our members, our players, to do their job. And I don't see as much of that as I think we need. It's really improved the last 5 years, I think, ever since COVID, but I think we need to get a little better, especially like when you think about recovery or retention and recruitment, right? Like, people are looking for more, balance in their life. They're looking for a connection. They want to feel valued. They want their family to feel like they're part of something. And we need to really embrace that concept, because I think that's what a lot of successful NFL teams and coaches do. It's not just about that organization. It's about their culture. It's about, what they do for each other off the field and bring to the table, besides just, maybe being fast or being able to make a tackle. And so I look at that aspect of it, and we need to be more open to programming like that. I think too, with the fire service, we had mentioned a little bit about recruiting. Like, we're so horrible at promoting ourselves, because we've never really had to do it. Right. Like, when you're a chief, it was, people loved the fire service, right? I mean, it was the alders and the city council that you sometimes had to convince to open the pocketbook. But,
yes,
how cool of a job do we have? You walk in any grocery store, people ask you questions, say hi, thank you. I mean, how many people get a thank you for doing your job? You're like, I mean, how cool of a kind of thing we get to do. And one of the, I consider him a mentor. He retired, and he just said, what a privilege we have that people open their doors in some of their most weakest, most vulnerable times, to let us into their house, to let them help them. Like, that is an unbelievable power that we have. And we need to celebrate that a little bit more, not only with each other, but with the families and the people around us. And I think those are some of the things that we can take from different, organizations and different industries, so.
Love it. Yeah. Bring in the humanization back into the fire service, I think, is a missing component. And what you're describing there with the sports teams is they're fostering that. They're bringing the human element. They're bringing family. They're making it, hitting all the elements that are going to maybe stress them out or take their mind off the game, because they're stressing about finances or family life or divorce or whatever that looks like, right? Yeah. And they're not going to be optimal if they're stressing about that kind of stuff, right? So I love it.
Right. And there it is, optimizing. It's not just the fitness side of it anymore. It's the whole thing. And yeah, I mean, you said it much more eloquently than me. I'm a truck guy still. You're chief. Between the two of us, man, we could be deadly together. But I'm like, yes, hit door. You're like, let's open the door nicely. Yeah.
Well, I had another podcast guest. I can't remember what episode it was, but we were talking about, in the sports realm, how much better they are of recovery than the fire service.
Oh yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
spend so much time on, you got a sprained ankle, on the rehab, on getting you back into it, on not isolating you, on keeping you involved in the team, versus one of us, we put our back out, we break a leg, we're off work, we stay home, we don't talk to anyone at the fire station, we get isolated, come back on late duties, and you're stuck at a desk.
Yep. Yep.
Totally
No.
different, right? And I think there's a
Yeah.
lot to learn there. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. We're really good at high intensity, right? Like fire service, we have a lot of intense people. You know, when we want to work out again, what do? We go back to that one workout that worked for me 20 years ago. You're like, you're not that person anymore. But we're really good at the intensity stuff. And you hit it right on the head. We need to get better at the recovery stuff because we're constantly in the state of, you know, of high fight, right? Like, you know, parasympathetic versus sympathetic. Like we're always in this kind of fight, you know, mindset just based off of all the different things that we experience. We need to bring things in our life and find ways to bring us back down. And you know, I think that's part of the recovery. You are seeing more I think more things like, you know, you see ice baths and when I first started, even foam rolling wasn't part of, you know, people's kind of daily, routines. And now you're seeing that, you know, I'm big in that, being, like I said, the older I got, the more I'm figuring that out. But, you know, ice baths, saunas, steams, I have the compression boots, which I love them, by the way.
Oh,
Um, yeah, and just the, you know, my dad calls it the pounder, but they're the, you know, the like the hypervolt, the percussion guns, the massages. People are starting to see that a little bit more. As an industry, we need to get a little bit better and understand, you know, every single workout doesn't have to be high intensity. I believe that you should work out or work on something physically every single day, but that also means just breathing in a corner, taking you know, some stretches, doing some mobility work, foam rolling. Because our pros, yeah, a lot of times, you know, we schedule everything based off seasons for them. So it's preseason, postseason. If they're injured, we got to bring them back to where they were before, pre-injury, and then see where we can take them from there. And it was actually really easy to train them based on that. And then when you go in the fire service, we don't have seasons. We're in season today, tomorrow, the next day. Yet we fall out of it. You know, really fit, not so fit. You know, we call it bulk phase here in, you know, around the Midwest. Are you in fit phase or bulking phase? Right. Cause, you know, we sometimes like to do that when it gets cold,
yep.
but,
Thanksgiving, Christmas. Yep.
yes.
Bulk. Yep. Yep. Gotcha.
Yep, got to bulk up, but that does some bad stuff to you physiologically. Not only for, you know, just you physically, but it also helps or can contribute to depression, can contribute to you know, difference with hormone optimization. So it's really interesting how all that kind of plays into it. But yeah, finding ways to recover, finding ways to rest, breathing. I've read more about breath and yoga and TRE, right? Like
Nice.
how good is TRE for
Oh,
people? Yeah, I've done a lot of trauma release. And as a matter of fact, I got some good friends at FDNY who are pushing
yes.
programs on TRE. And I
those
believe
guys.
that is a wonderful tool.
Mhm.
And if someone's going, what the hell is TRE? Like that's my trucker guy thing, you know.
Yep.
Google it.
Yes.
It's very I've seen it in practice. I've done it. It's
Awesome.
and I don't want to steal your thunder.
No.
I don't want to get it incorrect, but give me a quick, like, how would you describe TRE to somebody who's just hearing about it?
Well, it's a self-care tool that essentially fatigues your core fight or flight muscles to a point of exhaustion where your nervous system overtakes your body into a tremor state. And it's called a neurogenic tremor. And your body will actually shake out tension, stress, trauma, and also, like we just finished, very, very powerful for recovery as well. So athletes can use it, martial arts can use it, firefighters can use it. And it's something that you have, like, once you learn how to master it, it's a self-care tool for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You can do it in the fire station. You can do it after a call, before a call, whatever you want. And it's just like, we are built to shake. We're humans, just like animals. We are meant to shake, just like those, the dogs that shake at fireworks shows when they're scared. Just when that lion is chasing a gazelle, and there's two outcomes for that gazelle. The gazelle gets eaten by the lion, game over, or the gazelle runs off into the bush, shakes, walks away like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
And that's what we're supposed to do as humans as well.
Shakes it out, right? Like your analogy with the dog is spot on. But it's not really difficult to learn. I think there's some breathing that's associated with it too, right? So breath work can come into, along with TRE, and again, these are great tools that we need to teach everyone in the fire service. How you utilize them and where you utilize them, we can also help you kind of figure that out. But I think using that as a recovery tool is awesome. And the shaking part kind of gets me thinking a little bit. I'm a fidgeter, and I'm wondering if that helps a little bit with trauma. Does that, have you ever done any research or heard any research on that?
Well, fidgeting, I would say before, like, that's kind of my go-to. If I'm a little bit nervous or not sure what's coming up next, or unsure, like the unexpected, right? I can get a little fidgety, I get a little shaky, and that's nervous energy is what I kind of classify that as. So I'll do TRE before I do a speech. I'll do TRE before I do anything that's kind of outside of my comfort zone, and it'll just bring my body down to homeostasis, which is like balanced, totally calm, no fight or flight whatsoever, balanced. And then I can show up optimized.
Optimized, right? Well, then of course it depends on how you slept, what you ate, all those other things, but in a much better state. And I think too, like breath, I've learned right before I'm doing radio transmissions, just a quick deep breath in, sometimes breath in, exhale. It just helps clear my head. So I'm like, what am I going to say? What am I seeing? Can I transfer what's up here to here? And trust me, if anybody knows me, they're like, I'm horrible at that, but I'm working to get a little bit better, So again, tools, techniques, things for people to try. I think this is all awesome stuff, right? Like the TRE, and it's all in an attempt to bring us back down, to get us more balanced and grounded. And that's something that I think sleep helps with, fitness helps with. And, we always look at fitness from like, hey, I need to get in shape because I got to lose 10 pounds. What I've learned over the last couple of years is I don't care how much you lose. What I want you to do is focus on other things that you're going to get from working out. One of which is maybe better sleep, which, believe it or not, then you're not going to make the poor nutrition decisions. And then guess what? You start to lose weight, right? Like, so trying to get people to focus more on just, like the habits and what are some of the other benefits that you're not really seeing, right? You feel them, but you need to take notice of them in order to help motivate you to continue. And so I think, that's where these recovery tools really play into it, So yeah, great question, right? I think everybody loves the sexy, like I want to bench press or I want to squat. But it's okay. What if you don't have time to do that? What if you get injured? Which I think a lot of members of the fire service are physically injured. So maybe that's not the best thing for us. I think we're also mentally and emotionally injured from the trauma that we see, the leadership woes that we have in some organizations frustrate us. So this recovery piece is really, really huge.
I would agree. And I would say, just to finish off with the TRE component, TRE, what I've noticed in most first responders that I've worked with is it's a tool for them to understand and connect to their body for once. There's been so disassociated from their body, feelings, what's going on in their body, if their knees are hurting, their back's hurting, just totally disassociated. But TRE brings them into their body. They start to understand, oh, yeah, I got pain there, or oh, yeah, I am a little nervous there. Oh, that's,
Yes.
So,
I can't stop this shaking. I remember going, I'm trying to stop the shaking. Nah, man, you got to let it happen.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, why am I why am I feeling a little emotional about this? Right. Like
Yeah.
it's a very, you're right. Like we are control freaks a lot of times too. And you got to learn how to connect and just let things happen sometimes. Cause you let your body tell you some things. Stop trying to force things on your body. Yeah. Great.
Love it. Love it. Love it that you tried TRE as well. That's awesome.
Yeah. I try and I use it. I'm not very good at it, but it's on my, like there's things that I do, that I'm trying to do to build, my own resilience. And it's one of my tools. It's not my consistent go-to yet, but I'm working it in slowly.
Beautiful. So a perfect little segue into building some habits, because I think all these things we talked about are all things that we probably want to include in our lives at some capacity.
It's like we planned this. Yeah.
I
right.
know. It's just like scripted or what, eh?
Wow. Trust me, nothing is scripted with me, folks, because
same here.
I can't.
Same here.
Yeah, I can't hold attention long enough. But you just never know where it goes. But you're exactly right. Like we talked about sleep. We talked about, I think self-awareness is one of the big things. We talked about listening. I know that you're big into, written a couple of great books, and in order to do that, you got to read books, right? If I was to ask, like, are there 3 or 4 things that you try to do every single day?
Yes, 100%. Well, sleep is my new foundation to my health and wellness.
Okay.
Sleep. I take that as a high priority. Breathing exercises, do that every single day. Hydration, maximize my hydration. That was a key issue to a lot of my nervous system dysregulation, was dehydration.
Yeah. How much do you try to get?
Oh, I drink a lot. Over the 80 ounces.
Okay.
80 ounces. Yeah. And I also add Celtic salt to my diet now to kind of absorb that water a little bit better into my system. I honestly don't know, but I would say I'm holding up a pint of water right now. I probably drink 10 of those at least a day.
Yeah. Awesome.
Back on coffee, but that's not my habit I'm trying to build. But then I go for a hike every single day with my dog.
Perfect.
So it's not just a walk, it's a hike. So I get my body moving, but I also get that cardio in there. So hiking with a dog, water intake, sleep, breathing exercises. Breathing exercises is something that I found probably 3 years ago, and it's something that really has helped me kind of regulate who I am, how I show up in the world, for sure. I did an amazing 3-hour breathwork session at Reno at the FireWest show conference a couple of months ago. Wow, that opened my mind up to a whole new level of breathing, because we did it for 3 hours straight. It was incredible, by a Reno firefighter. Props to him. It was amazing.
Do you think, all right, for someone saying that's 3 hours, like how long do you try to just do some deep breathing stuff? 10 minutes a day, or what's your, not even
10,
right?
10 minutes. Yeah. Until I feel my body I can feel my shoulders go down. I can feel my whole body just go, oh yeah. And that's good. I'm good to go. So I don't time it. I just do my exercises on repeat until I feel that kind of, just settled into it.
But you kind of go off into a corner and do it on your own, right? Or you put yourself in an environment where you can do it on your own, right?
Oh yeah. No, it's not guided or anything like that. It's strictly on myself. 4, 7, 8, or the physiological sigh are my 2 favorites.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. The 4, 7, 8. So in 4, 7, hold 8 out.
Exactly.
Yep. And the psychological, and then out. Yep. Yeah. Huberman is really good about describing that. So if anybody wants to know, just Google psychological sigh. But the reason I ask you is because, right, like you understand the value of those daily habits and how you feel with them or without them. And, through COVID and just outside of COVID, I had a lot of conversations and emails from people that were starting this thing called 75 Hard. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, right? It was this social media challenge. Well, I was reading about 75 Hard. I also had James Clear, book about habits, and I was reading about tiny. Yeah. And it just kind of dawned on me. I looked at, and on on FireRescueFitness.com website, there's a testimonials where I have people have their stories, FRF stories. And I don't even know, there's hundreds of them. And I always try to, the first question I ask somebody, they're like, hey, thank you for the workout. It was an unbelievable program. And I'm like, well, it's not anything that special. Like what really set it apart? And it was structure, and it was consistency. And I kept digging into, well, what were you consistently doing this time that you weren't doing before? And how did people change their mindset? So over the last couple of years, I mean, even including myself, I just looked at, all right, it's not about the outcome. It's about the actions that you need to take to get to that outcome. And I think in this day and age, there are so many things that get us distracted. There's social media. There's, there's our friend has a workout program. They have, there's a new diet trend, and there's all these different things. And I've tried them over the years too. But the thing I always resort back to is, all right, what are the things that I do every single day that get me to where I want to go? And so that helped me kind of create this program. It's called the Resilient 50. And originally it was 7 habits. You choose 7 habits that you do every single day. And then if you follow them for 50 days, I have a coin, a challenge coin. And if I was really good at podcasting, I'd have one on me right here. But I've been sending them to people that just pledged to do 5 things. Now it's not even 7. I moved it to 5 because 5 for 50 sounds a lot easier to do. And I just believe too, that even these 5 things, like you listed 5 or 6 that you do on a daily basis. And what I've really discovered is that people love the concept. It's not overwhelming. It is, it's something that, I found, someone said, hey, I just quit drinking for 50 days. And it was the one thing I needed to get me over the hump, because I was, I lost my dad, my relationship was in crap, and that's all I was doing was drinking. And, sadly enough, on day 49, they decided to go skiing because they felt full of energy and something they hadn't done in a long time. They broke their leg, so they didn't complete 50. And I'm like, no, I'm sending you this. But they still, to this day, aren't drinking. They just felt like they didn't need to do it. I've had other stories where someone's lost like 22 pounds in 50 days. Now, some of that's water weight, but she was saying it was just the one thing I needed to focus on every single day. I didn't focus on what I would do, what I would look like 50 days from now. I focused on how I was feeling and what I was doing to feel that way. And it's just something that I follow to this day. I did it last year. I turned 50. So it's really where the 50 days comes from. I'll be honest. Like,
okay, cool.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, and it's like, it's one day past 7 weeks. So if somebody, like, hey, I'll 7 weeks, and then you kind of just do a week of things that you just, hey, I like this workout or that workout, and then go back to more of a structure. But I was turning 50. I wanted to really see, how can I optimize, right? Like, how can I put all this together, and how will I feel? And I have pictures of my results on there, but it's really been one of those 50 days that flipped a switch to me, that said, these are some things that I can do. It doesn't have to be in a contest, but you mentioned like a couple of big ones. One is 8,500 steps a day. One that I did is 80 ounces of water. I did gratitude. I believe being grateful transfers to so many different things. And I just write down one thing every single day. For sleep, the last 50 days, when I originally did this, I did powering down 30 minutes before, and I still try to keep that in my daily habit. I also followed a diet plan. I followed more of a Mediterranean base, but I didn't do any cheat days during my original 50. And then 10 pages of reading every single day. I'm getting my master's, so I'm almost done with that. So that was pretty easy. 30 minutes of exercise, and that exercise can be high intensity, but a lot of times it was recovery. And so I just started to challenge people around me, challenge your listeners. If you do it, you can go to resilient50.com or r50challenge.com, or if you go to firerescuefitness.com, you'll see it's right on a banner there. But choose 5 things. It could be walking your dog every single day. It could be playing 10 minutes with your kids, something that brings you back down to balance, and that'll help you build resilience down the road. And, might be keeping below 40 grams of added sugar every single day. Some people have said they gave up their third cup of coffee. Any one of those things, but together, those 5 things can really make a huge difference. And then, I've having people, they're now on their third 50 days, because every single time they're like, well, now I'm ready to do this. Now I'm ready to do that. And to me, it's been really cool to hear the stories, and it fills my heart to hear that you've actually heard people say, hey, this concept really makes sense. So, try me, prove me wrong, prove me that I'm full of crap. It's no different than anything else. But I just believe, for people that are love challenges, and for members of the fire service, if we can start challenging each other to do these things, like, hey, we'll really challenge you to make positive changes, and it's been great to get some of the stories. I know there's some people out there probably like, well, you never sent me my coin. Stay with me. There's quite a few. I think I've given out, I have 300, and I think I'm over halfway. So 150, 160 people.
Awesome.
And
cool.
over the year, which is really neat. And
I think
it's great.
I think Jim Bernacca said you owe him one still.
I gave it to him. I saw Jim I just saw him in Washington at a WFI, and Jim Bernacca is wonderful people. And now I'm like, okay, buddy, let's do another one. Nice. And then I said, challenge Nick, get Nick in on it. And and that's kind of really like, hey, just keep challenging people around you. That's awesome. I made a shirt for him too. And but I got him his coin, and I don't give out the coin. People got to complete the 50. I want this coin to be maybe sought after at some point, right? Like, so I'm waiting for you. What are you going to do? I'm going to do it. Even if you're already doing your 50, I'm okay with it. If you say, hey, I'm going to start, middle of November or December 1st, and I'm going to use these 50 days to get me through the holiday. I want to send you one, or bring me on and I'll send it to you and we can talk about it a little bit more.
Love to.
To me, that's the greatest gift I can maybe give back to the fire service. Chief Lieb has been a great mentor to me, and he's doing great things with the First Responder Center for Excellence. And I always tell him, like, Chief, I don't have much to give you back other than stand up straight a little bit and, stay to these habits. And he always laughs, whenever I talk to him. He's like, yeah, staying on, I'm working out, and I'm sitting up straight as I'm talking to you, So, so hopefully it resonates with your listeners, and it kind of brings everything back to full circle. If you need to work on sleep, make that one of your habits. If you need to work on connecting with your family, make that one of your habits. I got to add too, another part of this was Duolingo. Have you ever done Duolingo?
Yeah.
That freaking bird, right? Like, there is a dopamine rush when you check off things on your list. And I am I like to write stuff down. So when you print off 50 copies and you list your 5 things, man, there's a dopamine rush with being able to check that box and to say, I'm on day 29. It really helps to build, that kind of positive, physiological response. So
everyone loves a challenge.
Here's a challenge for the listeners here. So, I'll order more coins, man. I love to do it. So,
well, I'm going to commit to, when I do the recording for the intro, which will be shortly, I'm going to kind of sit on this, but I'm going to share with the world my 5.
Yes. And you got to say, like, okay, so my 50 days is due here. And that was the other part of this, is what to make it more of a challenge is you got to do them all 50 days. So if I missed one, start over, but it means more to you then too, right? It can't be so easy that everybody's able to do it. Some people, there's things you can do. Well, if I want to work out 30 minutes a day and I want to get 8,500 steps, well, if I don't have my steps and I still need to walk, well, those two things help each other, right? Like, and you can drink water as you're walking to get to your 80, right? Like, there's 3 things right there. So, and if there's something that you're already doing, make a part of it, but just check it off, because that's going to help help you on continue it. So
yeah, habit
awesome,
stacking
man.
is such a good way to do it. Habit stacking.
Yeah. Perfect,
Well,
man. Thank you. Thank you so much for letting me on. I know.
Oh, likewise, likewise. Final words. You want to make sure that you walk away with our listener hearing from you today.
Man, I think in today's day and age, we get so bogged down with, social media. You get so bogged down to like what other people have. Um, and I really think we lose like what our reality really is. And our reality, remember, is what's around you, your friends, your family. And, my dad just went through open heart surgery. Here in the US, we're having people that are at each other's throats because of different things, right? Different beliefs or who you voted for, who you didn't vote for. And, but I come home and my neighborhood's mixed, but it does not matter. Like, my neighbors are constantly checking in. How's your dad? What can I do? Like if I'm at the station, they will they'll blow the snow out of my driveway so I can get in, at night. And to me, it's just, don't forget to be human, and don't forget we all have things that, we all have our challenges, right? We all are going through our stuff. And I think our very first point, just focus on listening to people, especially those that you're close to, because they're the ones that I think a lot of times we just expect they got to be there. But they're the ones we should give the most attention to. And so listen, try to connect, and just try to do things that make you better every single day. And if you're having trouble with that, use a list, use a checklist, find, I like to say, like your 10%, those people that will always be honest with you, whether you want to hear what they're going to have to say or not. And just do that, make yourself better and bring people up around you, not only in the fire service, but in your crew, but at home, in your community. And I think that's, we need that now more than ever. And so I'm very blessed to have parents, I think, that kind of really ingrained that in me. And I've been blessed to be in a position where I can talk about it. And, I get to see people like you that, right? Like now I'm super fired up, to just keep doing what I'm doing. And so I thank you for that. And, if people have questions, they can reach me if they think I'm on something, or, they can tell me that too. I have no problem with it. But,
You're
with
on
that,
life.
What's that?
You're on life.
I'm trying, man.
Yeah,
I think, we see so many people experience some bad stuff, and then for us not to think about it and say, life is short. You gotta live it right, man. So I hope that resonates with some people. And again, thank you so much for the opportunity, brother.
Likewise.
Appreciate you.
How can people get a hold of you if they want to connect with you? What's the best way?
FireRescueFitness.com. There's a contact me. It goes to me. My dog no longer answers the emails. She was horrible at it. Better Every Shift, which is the podcast that Fire Rescue One. There's a contact Zam there as well. I do have all the socials, FireRescue Fitness, Get FRF. But I think the website is probably the easiest because that goes directly to my email. And then if they see me out and about, presenting, please say hi. And, let me know again if I'm on something or onto something, or if they have questions. So yeah, that's the other thing. So use well, buddy. Like I can't wait to meet you now somewhere. Hopefully this year we'll have to compare notes where we're going to be.
Yeah. Well, it's been an hour and a half, and I want to commit to your time frame, but wow, we could honestly probably another 4 hours we could sit here and chat about this, for sure.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. Well, not so much me. I'm more curious. I love asking you the questions because I'm normally in your chair. So this is me getting out of my comfort zone a little bit.
Good job. All right. Much love, brother. It's been a great conversation, and keep up the good work. And yeah, I definitely look forward to connecting with you in the near future. So in person.
Thanks, man. And the next episode of Crackle might have some stuff that I'm involved with too. So please, if you guys are fans of Crackle magazine, please look at that. Yes. And give me some
my
feedback.
Article's in there right now. In this,
perfect. There we go. Another reason to look at it this issue and the next one. So Thanks again, brother. I look forward to meeting you. And again, what a great conversation. Appreciate it.
Likewise. All right, everyone. Lots of nuggets here. Lots of wisdom from Zam. Until next time, stay well. All right, that's a wrap.
Thank you for tuning in to Beneath the Helmet. We hope that this podcast has provided you with valuable insights into the world of firefighters' health and wellness. Remember, caring for your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being is crucial to achieving optimal performance. Join us next time on Beneath the Helmet for more inspiring conversations. Until then, stay well.